Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar. Welcome back to the new year. I hope you all had a wonderful festive break. For those of you who don't know me, I am Courtney, Marketing Specialist at HR Profiling Solutions, and I'm very excited today as I get to introduce you to the newest tool in the Sales Competence Assessment Suite. But before I do that, I do want to quickly take you through a bit of background to the tool, and I'll stop and pause for questions along the way. So if you have any questions, please just pop them straight into the chat box and I'll keep an eye out for that. If I don't answer your question right away, the answer is probably coming later in the webinar. Great, so Extended Disc, as the company was originally called, was founded in 1991 by Jukka Sapien, an MBA graduate from the Helsinki School of Economics. He spent his early professional years consulting clients with the use of psychometric tools. A profound understanding of the gap between existing tools and corporate needs enabled Jukka to develop what his clients were looking for, basically a comprehensive tool set that could be used to generate understandable, integrated information on an individual, team, or entire organizational level. The instrument was developed and honed over several years from about 1991 to roughly 1994 in Finland with the cooperation of key clients and experts in the psychology, statistics, HR, consulting, and IT fields. The company has always been a technology leader in the industry, and in 2013, the Finx online platform was launched. The first of its kind, Finx integrates many workplace assessment tools in one application, including our extended disc assessments, reasoning analysis, 360 feedback tool, employee engagement and climate surveys, and most recently in 2018, the competence assessment. So it's pretty safe to say that Finx is the most flexible and customizable assessment suite currently on the market, with development and platform enhancements literally continuing on a day-to-day basis. Even this morning, I just had an update, so there we go. So what is the Finx assessment tool? So in mid-2018, the Finx International launched their newest creation, the competence assessment. So the idea was to have the ability to create more skill-based assessments. The first questionnaire and set of reports launched as part of this tool was the sales questionnaire. So the Sales Competence Assessment allows sales coaches and trainers and managers to measure a salesperson's self-perception of their sales performance. The Sales Competence Assessment was created in cooperation with one of the largest sales training organizations. Having observed about hundreds of thousands of salespeople, literally, a model was developed containing 18 competencies that critically influence sales effectiveness. The model assumes that a person's attitude to specific sales activities and their experience in the execution substantially influences sales results. So different combinations of people's attitude and experience predispose them to different types of sales processes. The individual reports indicate competencies that a salesperson needs to develop and also generates development tips dedicated for a particular individual in each of the 18 analysed competencies. The innovative SCA questionnaire is composed of 99 forced questions. It takes about 25 to 30 minutes to complete the questionnaire, and by forcing the respondent to constantly make choices, the sales questionnaire measures the attitude of the respondent to key actions in sales processes and their perception of the current perception of sales competences. So this results in reports that reflect to a high degree actual real behaviours in sales. One important note here is that the questionnaire is intended for people who have at least 6 months sales experience. Some of the questions in the questionnaire will be very difficult to answer if you haven't had any sales experience. So when we first introduced the Sales Competence Assessment to the market, the positive response was instantaneous. The report was labelled a game changer for sales managers and sales coaches, with some even saying it's the best tool of the kind they have seen in their years of work in the Global Sales Leadership Advisory. The Sales Competence Assessment was designed for use when hiring a salesperson, developing a salesperson, and managing the entire sales team. Some of the benefits this tool helps to provide is decreased staff turnover, the ability to identify the potential in your sales force, being aware of the possible challenges in your sales team, more evolved development plans, and of course, and most importantly, more sales. When the competence assessment tool was first launched, there were two really insightful reports available, the recruitment report and the development report. Feedback was overwhelmingly positive. However, most coaches we talked to felt that there was a gap for the sales manager. So after listening to suggestions from many of our clients, both in Australia and New Zealand and globally as well, I am extremely happy to announce the launch of the Sales Manager Report. So I know quite a few of you are interested in the sales competence reports, but have not yet been certified. So I'm just going to quickly recap on the content of the recruitment and development reports first, and then I'll talk through how the sales manager report fits into the mix. For those of you who have attended our sales competence certification, these parts will be a little bit repetitive. However, there have been some changes made to these reports, so I'll include these as I go along and be specific in where those changes are. And before I continue, does anyone have any questions on kind of the background of the tool at all? Nope. Okay, that's cool. We'll continue. So all three reports begin with an executive summary. So this is an overall summary of the candidate scores, which allows you to easily identify high and low scores. It's important to mention here that this is a zero-sum game. So no one can score entirely low or entirely high. It's just not possible. Another important aspect is that high and low scores are not necessarily good or bad. As a manager or a coach, you need to read through the competence descriptions and identify which competencies you would like to see a high score for and which ones you would like to see a low score for. For example, in the building rapport competency, you may need a high score for a long sell or a low score for a short sell because it's not as important to make that rapport with the client. So let's start with the development report. After the executive summary, the next section of the development report is what we call the individual's scores pages. Here, we want to create a better understanding for the manager and the sales coach as to what the scores really mean for the individual. So we do this by listing the competence score, as you can see in the middle of what's on screen, and then listing what a low score means and what a high score means. For those of you who have been certified, one change that has been made since the initial release is that the irrelevant score is grayed out. So if you achieved a high score, the high score description is visible, as you can see on screen. A low score, then the low score description is visible, and in the middle, then both are visible. So now that we know our current competence levels, where do we go from here? Is there anything in the reports that can help us with the next steps? And the answer to that, of course, is yes. The next section of the development report are the development plan pages. So there are about 18 pages, one for each of the competencies. These pages first define the competence and what the sales competence score means. And you can see here that the ability to grey out the irrelevant score is again in this part of the report. So the development pages give an overview of what the current competency score looks like in practice. This text is dynamic, so if someone has a low score in a particular competency, the text will differ from someone who receives medium and high score, for example. These pages also provide very specific tips for development, and these are unique again to the person's competency score, so these do change. The report also provides development questions for each of the 18 competencies. Again, these are unique to the person's scores. So if someone has a medium score in a particular area, they'll receive a different set of questions to someone compared with a high score. These questions can be used by the sales coach or manager as they are. They can provide some sales discussion starters and coaching sessions, and possibly something to include in the development plan. So the development report clearly defines and measures these 18 sales competencies. However, we can delve much deeper into more hardwired behaviours, which we call sales mindsets. Again, the sales mindsets are very clearly defined in the report and describe the way you would naturally approach sales. Mindsets are more permanent, more spontaneous, and likely to be emphasized when you are under pressure. Sales mindsets are also affected by your experience in sales, attitude to sales, your current sales environment, and sales skills. The mindsets help us to identify self-defeating beliefs. So some beliefs can help us become more successful, whereas others can hold us back. So what we really want to understand is what the self-defeating beliefs are, and we do that by calculating mindset scores. So the mindsets are essentially the building blocks of the sales competence scores. So if we look at the mindset summary table that's currently on screen now, we identify the 18 competency scores, and underneath we can see each of the mindset scores. So for example, prospecting, you've got 3 mindsets under that: next step, influencing, and hunger. So each of the competencies are made up of between about 1 to 3 mindsets. If we focus on the mindset scores, we can, like for example, if we look at prospecting, this person's scored quite low. So if we want to bump that up, we might focus on that influencing mindset, because we can see that the score for that is also quite low. So the coach or manager may then want to discuss this with the individual and identify exactly what it is about that mindset that they may be uncomfortable with, and why that self-defeating belief is creating a challenge. So that is a very quick overview, or not so quick overview, of the development report. As a recap, the development report contains the executive summary, the individual scores pages, description pages, development questions, and the mindsets. Is there any questions about the development report that I may have missed before we move on? No? Awesome. Okay, we'll keep going. So now that we've covered the development report, let's move on to the recruitment report. So the recruitment report introduces sales theory to the sales competence tool. So by combining the product service need with the length of the sales cycle and the length of the relationship with the prospect or the client, we get 8 different job roles. So these are the sales revealer, sales creator, sales forerunner, sales innovator, sales dealer, sales provider, sales counselor, and sales partner. The FinxS Sales Competence Assessment calculates for the respondent a percentage match for each of these sales roles. So this is a really great place to start for recruiters to spot people who will likely perform better in a specific job role compared to others. The roles are ranked from highest to lowest, and as you review the match percentages, remember that the scores reflect the respondent's current level of competence. So with enough motivation, dedication, training, any competence can be developed at any time. So if this person on screen so chooses, they have the potential to develop in 18 sales competencies, which will then bump up their match percentage to certain job roles. One of the major developments to the recruitment report is the ability to create your own sales job roles. So if the system defined roles don't fit the roles that you have in your organization, you can create your own and define the weighting of each competency that should have in relation to the job role. And this is done through your Finx account. I don't have time to show you through this today, so there'll be video tutorials up in the VIP area shortly that will talk you through all the steps to create your sales job roles. Again, we can delve deeper, another level deeper, into the sales roles through each of the definition pages for the sales roles. A description of the sales role and task it typically includes are at the start of each page. We can see which aspects of sales theory are combined to create each job role, and we can also view how the competence level affects the score of the sales role in our match percentage table. Again, if you've been certified, you can see that there has been a change to the match percentage table. So it uses wording here instead of percentages. So a close match means that the competence score equals the ideal score. A match means the competence score is very close to the ideal score. Excessive means the competence score is much higher than the ideal score. Overfocus means the competence score is above the ideal score. Weakness means the competence score is far below the ideal score, and challenge means the competence score is below the ideal score. Just going back to that, if you've created your own user roles in Finx, you won't have these definition pages appear in your report. So what else does the recruitment report contain? Just like in the development report, the recruitment report provides questions for each of the 18 competencies. These are unique to the person's score and are dynamic based on what the person scored. So you'll see these change. And these questions are really great to use in the interview part of the process, recruitment process. So if there's a competence that's really important to your job role, you might go through these questions with your candidate that you're recruiting. So in summary, the recruitment report contains the executive summary, sales job roles summary page, sales roles definition pages, recruitment questions, and again, it does have the mindset table that we went through before. So if there's any questions about the recruitment report that I haven't covered, please just pop them into that chat at any time and I'll go through and answer them. All right, let's move on. So both the recruitment and the development reports contain what we call the excuse index. The excuse index is this really powerful feature that measures how willing a person is to commit themselves to sales tasks and activities. So not everyone likes sales, not even salespeople, and even those who claim that they like sales don't always like it. And even those who claim they like it always find excuses. So the excuse index measures the actual tendency to look for excuses to not engage in direct sales and generating activities, The higher the result, the higher the tendency to look for excuses. So in sales, we are more likely to succeed when we are spending our time on our current prospects and developing our business potential. However, there are times when we procrastinate or prefer to focus our energies on non-sales related activities. For example, someone with an excuse index of 25 is dedicating about 75% of their time to sales tasks. This is one of those areas where we want to see a low score, as this tells us a person is dedicating a lot of their time to sales tasks. The current global average is 37%, so it means that the average sales professional spends about 37% of their time on non-sales related activities and only about 63% on the sales process and sales related activities. If you're a sales manager, it's a great place to start reviewing your team members' sales competence results. If one of your salespeople has a higher than average excuse index, do you need to provide additional support and feedback? If you have a salesperson with a low sales excuse score, then you know that person is focusing their energies on the sales process, which is great. No, Okay, so now that we've covered the first two reports and some of the changes, let's get on to the part I know you are all tuned in to hear about, and that is the Sales Manager report. So far we have covered the sales skills, mindsets, and included some sales theory. So the part the Manager report brings into play is arguably one of the most important parts of sales, and that is the sales process. So the Sales Manager assessment reports on a salesperson's ability to adapt to the main requirements of each step in the sales process. The sales process is broken down into two separate sections, as you can see on screen. So we've got the pre and the post-sales steps. So pre-sales steps include lead evaluation, initial contact, needs exploration, and closing or negotiation. That sometimes comes into that step. The post-sales steps include the initial engagement, the account management, and the ongoing business expansion. So this report helps managers and coaches to understand why some salespeople may lose their way when it comes to following the sales process, and it allows you to highlight areas in which salespeople need extra development to help them perform and adjust to the main requirements of each step in the sales process. So each step in the sales process is broken down into a description page. The pages provide a description of each step in the sales process. So you can see on screen that the lead evaluation description is at the top of that page. The competence match table shows whether the score is a strength or a risk to performance in the related step in the sales process. And by defining the risk competencies, managers can easily identify where development is needed in order to improve sales performance in a particular step in the sales process. The Sales Manager report also includes the ability to compare results against a benchmark. The purpose of the benchmark comparison is to identify how this person compares against a selected population. So the benchmark does not directly tell us anything about the person's sales skills, only how they compare against another group of people. Remember, it's important to use a benchmark population that your candidate could be a part of, based on the selection criteria of the population. So the percentage score you can see in the middle of that table indicates the on the right-hand side of the table indicates the population that scored less than this person. For example, 25% under the New Zealand benchmark column would mean that 25% of the population has a score lower than this person and 75% has a higher. The benchmark scores are presented as a summary table and also graphically. So that is a very quick introduction to the new Manager report. So as a recap, the Manager report contains the executive summary, the sales process summary, sales process description pages, and the benchmark pages. Are there any questions about that Manager report? Nope, everyone's really comfortable with it? Great. We will move on to my next little surprise. Oh, sorry, there is one. Does the Sales Manager do the same 99 questions? And yes, it does. All three reports are based on the same sales questionnaire. So I know I've covered a lot, but I have one more surprise for you all, and that is the 17 competency pages that have also been developed. So these pages include the executive summaries, team competence summary, team competence tables, team excuse index, team details tables, team role summary, and sales process summary. And we'll just go through them one by one. So in your Finx database, you can select all your team members and generate just the executive summaries for everyone. So these will come off in one PDF document, and there'll be a separate page for each team member. The team competence summary pages can be downloaded from Finx again for each of the 18 different competencies. So when generating from Finx, you can select which competency pages you want to print, so you don't need to print all 18. And again, it will come off in one big document with 18 pages, or less if you decide not to include all of them. The team competency pages include a traffic light on the left, the names of the team members in the middle, and a description score for a description of the score on the right. So you can see what a high score in this particular competence means compared to a low score and a middle score. The team excuse index page is just one page, and it uses the traffic light format again. On the left, the names are the names. Sorry, on the left is the traffic light, and the names are in the middle, and again, the description of the score is on the right. So what a high excuse index means compared to a low excuse index. Team roles pages can also be generated for each of the 8 sales roles. Again, using Finx, you can select only the relevant sales roles, or you can download all 8. We can see that the traffic light rating is used again, so it's just a really easy way to spot really high performers in one area and maybe people who need some development. So the traffic light again on the left, the names in the middle, and the score description on the right. So the red scores here indicate a lower match percentage, and the green indicates a great match to this role. And just a note, if you create your own job roles like I talked about before and select the user roles rather than the system roles, when generating these pages, there won't be a description on the right-hand side of the page. So again, if you're using your own created job roles, that description on the right-hand side will not appear. The sales process summary pages can be generated for each of the 7 steps in the sales process. Using Finx, you can select only the relevant steps, or you can download all 7 of them in one big PDF document. So we've got the traffic light, the team members in the middle, and the score description on the right. Now, the team details table is a little bit difficult to read on screen because I've had to reduce the size, but basically it gives you the competence score of each of your team members. So you can, going down the left-hand side of the page, if you turn your heads, are all the 18 competencies, and going across right is all the names of your team members. It also gives you the lowest score in your entire team, the highest score from your team, the standard deviation, so the spread of scores, and it gives you the average score across your team. So in summary, we have got 7 different team sales competency pages that can be downloaded from Finx. So you do that by going into your database, selecting the individuals, and then hitting print PDF to download the team competency pages. And again, there will be video tutorials in Finx as well as written manuals if you prefer that. They'll all be in the VIP area. So, and to recap, we've got the 17 competency pages. We've got executive summaries, team competence summary, team competence tables, team excuse index, team details table, sales role summary, and sales process summary. The process to generate the sales competence assessment is pretty much the same as the extended tool. So you simply send the invitation to your candidates via email. Once they've completed the questionnaire, you'll receive the selected report in your inbox, and then you can go into Finx and you can reorder the different report formats against the candidate's results and start to apply the results to build a high-performing sales team. The Finx online platform consumes 7 points for the initial report, and you can reorder any of the other reports for no additional cost. So if you automatically get the recruitment report off and sent to your email, you can log into Finx and download the development report and the management report for no additional cost. So what I've covered today is a very, very brief introduction to the reports, and we do offer a 1-day certification in the tool. Because these are very in-depth reports like the DISC assessments, they can be read as simply or in depth as you desire. You do not need to have completed any extended DISC training to qualify for the Sales Competence Assessment training. So if you are interested, please contact the HR Profiling Office or get in touch with your Master Trainer. Our next training intake is on the 11th of March, and that will be held in Auckland. So the certification will help you to confidently interpret and debrief the sales competence tool, will help you gain an in-depth understanding of the 18 sales competencies, sales mindsets, and excuse index. The sales competence certification will help you connect the sales tool to extended DISC methodology for deeper analysis and development. So that's something I haven't covered today. And it will help you apply the sales competence development, recruitment, and management assessments to coaching and consulting situations. It'll also help you to understand how to apply the results for team applications. So the sales competence report and set of reports is a really great tool and has so many applications as a coach, manager, or consultant. You really can do a lot with these reports, and there is a huge amount of potential for ongoing sales coaching sessions with all three of these reports. So if you have any questions regarding this new tool or you'd like to attend training, please get in touch with us. Our contact details are on screen now. Our next webinar will be held on the 20th of February with the fabulous Becky Carr, so keep an eye out for the invitation email in your inboxes. Thank you everyone for your attention and for tuning into this webinar. I know it was full of information, so a live recording will be up on our website in the next few days if you wish to re-watch it. Thanks everyone. I hope to see you all again at our next webinar, and I'll catch you next time.